Bristol Community College, Mathematics with Dan Avedikian, Math 132, Calculus with Applications, Section 13.4, Problem 17. This is Section 13.4, it's problem number 17. It says draw the graph of f of x equals 2x cubed minus 3x squared minus 72x plus 19, and be sure to label the x and y values of any critical points. So we start the process by finding the first derivative. So f prime of x equals the 2x cubed has a derivative of 6x squared. And again, what happens, the exponent of 3 comes down times the number in front, which is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. The exponent drops to one less power. The third power drops to a second power. The next piece, the minus 3x squared, will be minus 6x to the first. And again, what's happening is the exponent of 2 comes down times the number in front, which is minus 3. 2 times minus 3 is negative 6. X to one less power. The second power drops down to a first power. The next piece, the minus 72x, has a derivative of minus 72. And again, the reason for that is when you have an x to the first power, the derivative is whatever number is in front of the x, which is a minus 72. Again, pay attention to the sign, don't lose the minus. And the last piece, the plus 19, has no x, so it just goes away. Its derivative is 0. So this is the first step. F prime of x is 6x squared minus 6x to the first minus 72. So the next step is we're going to set that answer equal to 0. So we're going to have 6x squared minus 6x to the first minus 72 equals 0. That's step 2. Step 3 will be to solve that for x. So to solve for x, because I have an x to the second power, I have to solve by factoring. I'm going to make my parentheses. Before I start that, though, I can pull out a 6. Every piece of my equation is something times 6. So I'm going to put a 6, make some parentheses inside. I'll have an x squared minus x to the first minus 12, close the parentheses, equals 0. And again, you can check that. The 6 in front of the parentheses times all the pieces inside should give you back what you started with one line above it. 6 times x squared is 6x squared. 6 times negative x is negative 6x. 6 times negative 12 is negative 72. And again, you have to pay attention to the signs. So now what I'd like to do is find out how this factors. So I'll make my 2 sets of parentheses. Each one will lead off with an x. And I want 2 things that multiply to make a 12 and add together to make a negative 1. So that would wind up being negative 4 and positive 3. That's how it factors. And again, you can FOIL that out and check it just to make sure, but it does work out. So now because I have 2 parentheses or 2 factors, I have 2 answers. I have 1 answer or 1 solution from each set of parentheses or each factor. The factor of x minus 4 gives me a solution of x equals positive 4. Again, if I put in a positive 4 where I have an x, it would make my equation true. 0 equals 0. And the other factor of x plus 3 gives me a solution of x equals negative 3. And again, the reason being, if you put in a negative 3 for x, you'll have 0 equals 0. Makes the equation true. So that's giving me 2 critical points, 2 points that have a tangent of 0 or a derivative of 0. I'm going to have a flat spot on my graph. One with an x coordinate of 4, the other with an x coordinate of negative 3. So what has to happen next is I have to find the y coordinate that goes with each one of those critical points. So first, take the x equals positive 4, put it back into my f of x, do the math, and find the y coordinate. So f of 4, the 2x cubed becomes 2 times 4 cubed. Minus 3x squared is minus 3 times 4 squared. Minus 72 times x is minus 72 times 4. And then plus 19. So now if we start the math, 4 cubed, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, times the 2 in front. 64 times 2 is 128, and it will be positive. The next piece, negative 3 times 4 squared, so first the 4 squared. 4 times 4 is 16 times the negative 3 in front, so I'm going to have negative 48. And then negative 72 times 4 is going to be negative 288. And finally, 19. So now I can combine my positives and negatives, or I can just cheat a little bit and take my calculator, just run it right through as is. So I'll have 128 minus 48 minus 288, then plus 19 equals, and it comes out to negative 189. So I have one critical point with an x-coordinate of 4 and a y-coordinate of negative 189. So because I tried the problem before I came to the whiteboard, I knew that negative 189. I certainly didn't want the number scale to run one at a time. It would have been too tedious. So I ran the x's in chunks of 20. The y's ran in chunks of 20, I should say, and the x's, I ran one at a time. They don't have to run on the same number scale as long as you'll label it. So for over 4 down 189, over 4 I do have negative 189. I don't quite have, I have negative 180. So I'll go even a little lower. So negative 190 would be exactly halfway between the negative 180 and the negative 200. So by I, it's going to be about halfway. Technically, it wouldn't be quite so far down. So that is over 4 down 189. So that's one of two critical points for this graph, the one with an x-coordinate of 4. So I have to find the y-coordinate when the x is negative 3. So take my negative 3 for x again, go back to f of x and plug it in. F of negative 3 equals 2 times x cubed is 2 times negative 3 cubed. Minus 3x squared is minus 3 times negative 3 squared. Minus 72 times x, so minus 72 times negative 3 plus 19. Now again, you have a lot of negatives with something like this. You want to really take your time. Be careful, don't lose a negative. Very, very easy to do. So negative 3 cubed. So negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 is negative 27 times a positive 2 in front. So negative 27 times positive 2 will be negative 54. Now the next piece, negative 3 squared is positive 9 times negative 3 in front. So positive 9 times negative 3 is negative 27. And the next piece, negative 72 times negative 3. Again, with the negatives, negative times the negative, it becomes positive. 72 times 3 is going to give me 216, and it'll be a positive 216. And on the end, just plus 19. Now, again, I could add that up easy enough. I have negative, that'd be 81, positive 235, and combine them. But I'll cheat a little bit. I'll just use my calculator. I'll put in the positives first. 216 plus 19 more, minus 54, minus 27 equals, and I get positive 154. So I have a critical value with an x-coordinate of negative 3 and a y-coordinate of 154. So the way I have the graph set up, I would come back 3, and I would go up 154. Now again, I don't have exactly 154 on my number scale, so the 154 is going to be, by I, about 3/4 of the way between the 140 and the 160 positive. Let's bring this straight up, line it up horizontally about here. So x value of negative 3, y value of positive 154. Now again, I know my two dots are connected. They have to get to each other. Each one has a flat spot. So I know what's going to happen in between. And as I pass through x is 0, I can see I'm going through at a height of 19, just about where that 20 is. So I have kind of a flat spot here. It's going to come down, 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 cross over a little below the 20, come down, and flatten out again at over 4 down 189. Now the question is, at each one of those critical spots, does it flatten out briefly and continue in the same direction, or does it flatten out and turn around and go in the other direction? More often than not, it does go in the other direction, turns around. But that's not what happens every time, so you really need to be sure. So I know the height when x is -3. So let's go back one more. Let's go to -4 for x and see if my height's a little below my critical value or a little above, and it'll tell me which one of those two cases I have. So let's put in -4 for x and see what type of height I get. F of -4 is 2x cubed is 2 times -4 cubed. Minus 3x squared will be minus 3 times -4 squared. Minus 72x will be minus 72 times -4. And then plus 19. Now I'm going to be especially careful with your negatives. Start off with a -4 to the third power. So -4 times -4 times -4 again is -64. Times the 2 in front. So -64 times +2 is -128. The next piece, I have -4 squared. Start with that. -4 times -4 is +16. Times the -3 in front. +16 times -3 is -48. And now -72 times -4, the negative times negative, they cancel. 72 times 4 is 288. And then plus 19. So let's add that up. And again, I could combine my positives, combine my negatives like I usually do, but I happen to have my calculator with me. Let me put in the positives first. I'll go 288 plus 19. Then I'll do minus 48 minus 128 equals, and I get 131, positive 131. So as I come over to my graph, if I put in an x of -4, the height I hit is positive 131. So between 120 and 140 would be 130, so it'd be a tiny bit higher than that halfway point. And it tells me that after I flatten out for my critical value, my graph starts heading down. It flattens out and goes in the opposite direction. So that's one end of my graph. And once it starts going down, it's never going to stop going down. The other critical point, which was over 4, down 189. So it's going to flatten out at that point. I have a critical point. After it flattens out, does it keep going down or does it turn around? More likely it turns around, but you have to be sure. So I have the height when x is 4. Let's try the height when x is 5. Put in a 5 for x and see if I'm a little above or a little below that critical point. So f of 5 equals 2x cubed will be 2 times 5 cubed. Minus 3x squared will be minus 3 times 5 squared. Minus 72 times x will be minus 72 times 5. And at the end, plus 19. So let's carefully do that math. Starting with the 2 times 5 cubed, first the 5 cubed, 5 times 5 times 5 again, 3 times 125 times 2 in front. Again, it's all positive, so 125 times 2, positive 250. The next piece, minus 3 times 5 squared. Do the 5 squared first. 5 times 5 is 25, times the minus 3 in front is negative 75. And the next piece is negative 72 times positive 5 would be negative 360. And I have plus 19. So I do have certain positive and negative values. Again, I could do it, but I happen to have my calculator in my pocket. So let me just put them in and see what I get. So make sure it's cleared. 250 minus 75 minus 360 plus 19 equals negative 166. So what I found out is if I go over positive 5 for x, the height I hit is negative 166. So again, I don't happen to have exactly negative 166 on my number scale, By I, it's about 3/4 of the way between the negative 160 and the negative 180. So it's about here. And it tells me what I need to know, which is once I hit that critical point, it's going to flatten out and turn around and come back in the other direction. And once it starts going up, it never stops going up. And that's when you get the 2 critical points, and then it continues in either direction.